Hey everybody, this is Dee, and this is an episode of Healing Out Loud. We do today's episode about self-love, self-hate, and psychological warfare in observance of Suicide Prevention Month in September. We're going to take a moment in remembrance of all those that we have lost to suicide for just 1 second. Okay. Whew. Yes, this topic is as heavy as it feels, but you know what? We have to talk about it, okay? We have got to talk about what is going on in our heads, and what is making us feel so helpless and alone in this very, very odd world. I feel like Alice in Wonderland sometimes. Holy moly. Um, so since 2017, I basically have been coaching everyday women, like who I assume are watching this right now, right? Um, Basically on how to exude self-confidence in their walk, how they sit, how they dress, how they carry themselves, even when it came down to posing on their social media. I basically taught women how to exude confidence through movement, and another way of that being through sexy dance classes. It's basically reminding women who they are and letting them show that they value themselves on the outside just as much as it is as real on the inside. And it was not really about trying to make women be like or talk like or dance or move like me. It was more about telling women, it was more about explaining the importance of meeting yourself where you are in that moment and just kind of accepting it and saying, okay, you know what? It's cool because I am the best version of myself that I am going to be at this moment. And then you can decide if you need to do better or, whatever you need to do to troubleshoot. But the point is that you show up. The point is show up every day, even if your best looks like this versus yesterday looking like that, right? I think we just tend to get really caught up in, all of the hype. We just get caught up in all the hype. A big aspect of my job was teaching women to meet themselves where they were at, to get rid of that little voice in their head that said, you not allowed to be great after that divorce, or after having a baby, whatever it was that got in our heads that made us feel like we weren't good enough anymore, or we don't deserve exactly what we want, whatever that is. It was my job to slay that demon in your mind and make you feel like that bitch. Okay, so it was really sad to watch really beautiful and younger than me, young women, powerful women who had 3, 4 kids and look amazing and keep a job, and all their kids is clean and look fed and all that, to feel so poorly about themselves. It made me so sad. And part of that is because of my own personal experience, right? But then the other part of that is, who told you that? Who told us? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term gaslighting, but it's essentially the feeling of questioning your reality. you're presented with facts, but someone's trying to make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about, right? So it's like this whole imposter syndrome situation that we got going on, this feeling that makes us feel like we don't deserve good things. It's like, who told us that? Nobody told us. Who told us that? Like, and if people did tell us that, then like, why are we still around those people? Or what is it? What is going on inside of us that we are not settled with? What conversation do we need to have with ourselves that that's keeping us from being great? Because there's something, it is something going on in here. So but now I make it my job to connect these same women to wellness providers that will help restore them in other aspects of their life. So besides having self-confidence, like just a regular wellness routine, like I'm not even about to badger you about your routine, like specifically and what it looks like. I'm not saying you need to have this, and this. Not yet. You know, I got me a little go-to list, but like in reality, whatever your top 5 things are, right? Like I say, think about all of the things. Think about your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health, right? That's already 4 things. So you should do one for each thing. And then I say one selfish thing, right? Like one of those like indulgent things. So for instance, for your physical health, you have working out. That's simple. That one was easy. Cop out, you're welcome. But like for me, it might be like a dance class each week. And I do perform in a samba dance company. So either way, for me, that's fulfilled. Then we've got our spiritual health. You know, I go to church every week. And we also do Bible study as a couple. So that is also something I do twice a week. So, and then we have your emotional health. I do go to therapy. At one point, it was incredibly weekly. At one point, it was very weekly. We went down to bi-weekly, and sometimes you can do once a month. I feel like because I'm offered the support and it is my first 2 years of motherhood, like I definitely took advantage of the fact that like if I have the resource to use it as much as I can and what would be recommended, weekly is very helpful when you are going through major life changes. And so if there is something that happens like a major event, like let's say you're grieving someone, that is a reason to go to therapy weekly, okay? And then for instance, like how I put massage in my wellness routine, I recommend going when it makes sense. If you're just on a regular maintenance routine, you have your routine. If you just did a triathlon, you're probably going to go every 2 weeks instead of every month or whatever you do, right? You're going to go a little bit more frequently, but you know how to take care of yourself and restore yourself in that way. Emotional health, you know, you can journal. I like to journal. Writing is very healing for me. And then, honestly, talking these hard feelings out with really good friends that are also on the same wavelength as far as just having the conversation out loud and not being afraid to like tackle a topic that's not really like in pop culture. Like, let's talk about how to be better. Let's talk about how to heal our community. Those are the rooms that I'm in, and that's really cool. So that's great for my, that's really great for my emotional health right now. And then like the selfish indulgent thing for me is honestly just like saying no to everyone. I'm dead serious. Is saying no to everybody and staying at home with my man and my baby. That's my selfish thing. Or like cheesecake. How we can upkeep and restore our wellness and care routine, our self care routine, and to make sure that we know what resources we have when it talks about it. But the particular thing that I want to tackle today is, let's start with self love. So, self love is literally just valuing yourself just enough to take care of yourself all the way around, right? So that is where self-care comes into play. The reason you have wellness routines is to make sure you're taking care of yourself because you love yourself enough to do so. Spiritually, we talk about our body as a temple. So you have to take care of your temple. You know, buildings like a temple require maintenance, and why wouldn't the human that fosters your spirit, right? Like, take care of that body, and take care of the mind that's in control of directing it, right? Take care of your mind. Sometimes we end up neglecting parts of our self-care routine, or maybe we just need to refine it, like we need to upgrade it to match our lifestyle. But like when we procrastinate to do that, because here's the thing, we can make up excuses, or we can tell ourselves why we can't do something, but the fact of the matter is every time that we become uncomfortable, that is a signal that it is time to grow. Like, prioritize booking your appointment. Or maybe, like I said, maybe I'm realizing I'm struggling a little bit more with processing some of these issues, that maybe I'm triggered more often, and that's why I need to talk to my therapist once a week instead of once a month. It's some things to think about, but that is essentially me saying I love myself enough to make adjustments because I can feel myself getting out of alignment and I need to bring it back. Honestly, what happens is we begin to unravel, and then we end up affecting others negatively in the process of that. Some people are not built to support us unraveling, and it's not always because of bad intentions. It's just because they weren't ready to take on that responsibility. And sometimes we have to accept that too, is some people just can't handle it and they leave. Relationships can suffer, and other times, like, people will pretend everything is fine and really that person is like falling apart. And then like I said, it'll always come out in some inopportune moment in a very ugly way, and it's really hard when you're in that moment to explain, like, I need help, I feel out of control, I don't even know what's going on right now. It's really hard to do that in the moment. And then the need to be understood is so crucial. So I just I just want to help everyone realize, like, the world is heavy. Living in this world is really heavy, and being a human is hard some days. So the importance of connection and showing that we support each other is like almost imperative to survival. Because like there are so many times, especially like during COVID, there were so many of us that were going insane literally, and like just not mentally okay. We were locked inside, and then we also, like, I feel like a lot of people realized they were not happy in their situations. When they finally sat down and saw like what was in front of them, they was like, wait a minute, yeah. And we should have prioritized those moments to be still and make those adjustments before COVID became a thing. You know what I mean? And I speak for myself too, because COVID was exactly a situation. I am a direct example of what I'm talking about. I left an abusive relationship in COVID, so I get it. I have had to navigate dark times where I wasn't sure how much value I held and if I deserved anything better than what my current situation was. I have definitely had to ask for help with dealing with my big feelings. It is not a one-man job, y'all. It was not created to be a one-man job. So let's talk about how we build a solid foundation for ourselves to allow for love. Okay, so number one, you have to have some self-awareness. Number two, you need to then accept that self, right? Have lastly to set boundaries, make those adjustments, as I was saying. Being self aware means just like taking stock. It's an audit of who you are. It is your strengths, it is your weaknesses, and it is your triggers. Ooh, yes, your triggers. So you have to figure out, who am I? Like, so then, like, what this does is this also ends up calling out maybe some of the things that you need to address, right? So for instance, a strength that I have is being able to help people understand ideas by means of comparison or analogies. Like, I'm really good at getting people to understand certain concepts by comparing them to other things that are more relative to their life. That's a strength I have, and it's served me in several different skills, in several different aspects in my life, and that's something that I am very proud of. Is the ability to help people understand things that they didn't understand before. A weakness that I have is sometimes my empathy can make me blind to ill intentions. In the past, that has been an issue. It has not been an issue lately because I have made proper adjustments. So, lastly, would be triggers. Is I would notice what was triggering me. Not all of them in a harsh type of way, or like something really, really disrespectful or bad happened, but some of them it was just kind of like my nervous system told me that you were not safe. Honestly, I've avoided situations by setting these boundaries, and I don't feel any type of way about it. But great, I'm like, yay, we're safe. Moving on. Um, so that's the cool thing, is like I can accept that I have made mistakes and that I have allowed people to see me vulnerable, or I have trusted people that took advantage of me. But you know what? I know better now. I have a way better radar, and I have a solid support system that helped me figure out stuff that is iffy. And then, when in doubt, call my therapist. Keep trying to tell y'all. That's how I get through stuff now. Is like, I looked at my support system, I evaluated. Now, honestly, it did. It took my son. It took my son for me to really tighten up, like really tighten up, okay? It took him, because I realized that I still did not value myself enough to make those changes without him motivating them. Like, some of those changes could have been made way earlier. By the time I was pregnant, I told myself, like, he does not deserve to feel how I felt. And that was the first time I owned my feelings. And it felt really good, y'all. It was just kind of like, cool. You said it out loud. I'm so proud of you. What? You healing out loud. Another thing I want to talk about is like when your triggers are happening a little bit more often than maybe you have the capacity to handle. Because that literally happened to me like a couple weeks ago. I was like, there was one week where one thing happened and it triggered something that it's basically PTSD in regards to an abusive situation, where how I wake up can trigger me. If I wake up a certain way, it can trigger these feelings and these memories of a time that was so unpleasant to me. And so that happened at the beginning of the week. I woke up stupid and it ruined my whole day. Like, I was in tears how I woke up. I remember it. And it was crazy. And luckily, my man knows that I have that trigger. We talk about it. And so he didn't even have to ask. He was just, well, he did ask, but he knew. He was like, okay, I need to go embrace her. Let me hold her, but I still had to figure out how to deal with that trigger without him. Yes, he did calm my nervous system in that moment, but then when he left, I'm just like, okay, I still need to figure this out. I need to figure out how to cope for when he's not here, because that is a codependency thing. And I learned about codependency like 6 years ago, y'all. So we don't need to learn that lesson again. We on to new stuff, okay? I took some time to meditate. I started stretching, and then I ended up going on a walk. I'll keep saying it, y'all. Walking is the real deal. And I really think it seems so impactful now because there's so many screens in my house that I'm just kind of like, how did we get here? How did we get to the point where we think that we need a TV in every room? Because that was cool back then, because we were alive when TVs were just getting flat. You know what I mean? And now they look so good. But if man, I'll be damned if I can't get outside and take a walk and feel like a much better person. It is crazy to me. Just getting back to the basics can sometimes reset your entire mood. So if you can't afford a therapist, girl, go to the park. Go to the biggest park and take a whole walk. Okay? That is your mental health plan. And then, other times your strengths can be overlooked and abused by people. And you honestly just have to take those moments, document what happened in your head, replay it out and say it out loud. I said this, or I did this, and this person did this. This was hurtful. I told them it was hurtful. I didn't tell them it was hurtful, but they responded in this way. Take that information and do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. If someone shows up for you, acknowledge that, and then remember that person in your head. That's a safe space for me. And then if it's somebody that is not being receptive, then you need to just say, you know what, I'll dial it back, because every time I talk about this with this person, they do not allow me the safe space that I need. So you set a boundary. When it feels like you don't have anybody else to talk to, pray. Oh my gosh, I don't even care what you believe in or don't. I'm telling you that God will listen to you. You better get on your knees and pray. You better ask for what you need. Ask for help. 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 And then the people you know are safe spaces. If they happen to just be a little bit obtuse and not listening, say it again and say, no, I'm asking you for help. No, I am asking you for help. One more time, you have to tell them, I am asking you for help. So yes, ultimately we get to self-acceptance. We kind of realize what is and what is not. We keep it real. We keep it 100 with ourselves. And then we take that data, we take that information, we analyze it, and we say, okay, I will take this in. This is where I'm at. That's accepting it. You have to figure out who you want to be, who you don't want to be, and how far you are away from those things. And that, my love, is the self-acceptance. It's saying, okay, I am this far away from this person that I really, really see myself being. I really want to be this person. If you look nothing like that person, cool. That just means we got work to do. And if you don't look like the person that you don't want to be like at all, good for you, sis. Good for you. That means you've grown. You have to also remember that healing is non-linear, honey. It is not a goop, 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 goop. No, it be like this. Right? Healing is just doing it. It's experimentation. And sometimes experiments get messy. Your current circumstances do not ever have to be your permanent situation, though. We have the ability to change our lives. Boundary setting is so hard. Boundary setting, it was really hard for me because it really got to the point of like, okay, setting a boundary with a logically not cool person, an unsafe space that is not super close call to me, cool, easy. But setting a boundary with someone I love, someone I have loved for years, someone I had a really deep connection with, oh my God, is that hard? Or like if I really, really wanted love from that person, if it was like a connection that I felt really strong about and maybe we were getting distant, I would like make room for things that I didn't actually have room for. Or I would accept bare minimum sometimes because I'd be so empathetic to what they were going through. And this is not just like romantic relationships, y'all. This is literally like the closest of relationships sometimes. Like, there were just no limits to my I gave over capacity, and then I was depleted by the end of that. And at first I was incredibly embarrassed because I was just like, girl, what numbers were you running that you thought you could do this and be this to this person and be this to this person and still be a baddie? You can't, because this is sucking the soul out of you. And then by the time I looked in the mirror, y'all, I did not recognize myself. It is, oh, it's the scariest thing in the world to look in the mirror and not recognize yourself. It is jarring. I want to bring up the stuff that blocks our ability to love ourselves. And one of those things is negative self-talk. Whether you actually say it out loud or you're just like thinking it, right? We tend to be really mean to ourselves, and it is kind of crazy. We say things that, again, like, who told you that? Who told you that you weren't good enough? Who told you that you weren't beautiful? Who told you you didn't deserve better? Who told you that? And when did you start believing them? Because that's the real tea. When did you start believing it? You know, we get to a sense of self-betrayal sometimes. We feel like, how could you even let yourself do that stuff? And that is shame. That's shame, guys. And we weren't meant to know shame. And so don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on the things that you did and the mistakes that you made. Take the time to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And recognize, like, you were in the moment you were in and you made that choice. Own the choice and decide to do better if you're unhappy with it. Or pray that you don't have to be put in the position to make that choice again. The other thing is like comparison culture, right? We have the internet. For a while, there was this long period of time where a lot of us stifled our energy and missed out on opportunities because we were simply just in a chokehold of imposter syndrome. And if you did not have the right support system around you, you fell victim to that and you dimmed your light and you missed out on opportunities. I personally like to cater my timeline. I'm glad that my timeline can be streamlined to what I like, but I'm trying to be conscious of when you have to be intentional behind that phone, right? Like, you're the one scrolling, so make sure you're not just scrolling to scroll. Scroll and see if you get any genuine, like, because sometimes I just come up on gems when I log into TikTok and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cute. Okay, I'm done here. And then I get all funny. No. But like, even Instagram, it's very curated. So now that I move intentionally, my Instagram is just a little bit more intentional. Take the power back from social media. We have to stop giving social media so much power. We were never meant to soak in all of this information, guys. So personally, I think a moment of unplugging is necessary. I do want to do an episode about fasting and unplugging because I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. So stay tuned for that. You know, another good way to counter the negative self-talk, I do this thing called mirror talk, which is a moment of reflection in the mirror where I literally talk to myself like tea time with my girls, but I like out loud literally have the conversation with myself. I look at myself and be like, hey girl, How you doing? You so cute today. Or I'll be like, girl, you look tired. You look like what you've been through. We need to figure that out. Because y'all, that's like a pet peeve of mine. I refuse to look like what I've been through. I've seen what I look like when I've been through stuff. I never want to look like what I've been through ever again. So there is an exercise that I used to do like literally on my own as a reflex, but now I like taught people how to do it for themselves. But it's called mirror talk. You literally sit there and talk to yourself in the mirror and you call it out. You say, girl, you know you did not need to go on that date this week, or you know you need to finish that assignment. That moment of reality where you just like, me and you, girl. The main way that we cancel out shame and guilt is to practice forgiveness. So when you do mirror talk, also take that time to forgive yourself and say, you know what? I know I did that, but I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to set some boundaries and I'm going to allow myself an opportunity to just sit and reflect on that moment and figure out why I felt the need to make that decision. The only way that unconditional love can exist in any relationship, including the one that you have with yourself, is through honesty and forgiveness, right? Shame and guilt were never part of the plan, y'all. They were never part of the plan. We were not built with shame and guilt. We were taught that. We need to forgive ourselves for the mistakes that we make and move forward from them. We're not defined from these moments. We are refined. Hold on, run it back. What I say, be not defined by those moments in your past, but be refined. Okay? I do have a question from one of my followers, and I want you guys to weigh in below. What do you say to a loved one who is hurting and might be reaching out for help, but you're not sure? And I do understand that question because I have been in situations where I don't want to trigger someone in a negative way and make them lash out the way that I know they will. I have been in situations where I know I haven't been delicate with the person before, so I know I have to be extra delicate, but the situation is not delicate. Oh my goodness, it is hard to do things like that. Personally, I just ask, do you need my help at this point? Because I realized, like, when I am at a loss for words, that is the simplest way for me to get someone's attention is, I need help. I don't know. I need help. I need your help. I need help. I just say it over and over again to make it clear. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need help. And I could be talking to God. I could be talking to my bestie. I could be talking to my man. I could be talking to my mother-in-law. Like, I could literally be talking to anybody, but I know I'd be like, I need help. And I give to I am open to being vulnerable if it allows me a moment to receive assistance when I feel like I'm drowning or smothered. If that, because those feelings are heavy, right? They're restrictive, and they're not easy to deal with alone. So being on the end that needed help, I kind of feel like I just ask the way that I have asked in my own way. So I'll say, like, do you need my help, or how can I help? Is there a way that I can help? What would help you right now? But the help is the consistent, is the main point, is asking that person what assistance can be provided. I highly, highly, highly recommend journaling to anybody that is struggling mentally. Highly recommend looking into a therapist. I know they have apps that offer free therapy as well. When I find more resources for mental health, guys, that I personally feel like are reputable and that are through my experience, I have no problem offering you to them. But in the meantime, do just a little bit of research, find self-help workbooks, find journals, take some time to reflect on your day. Prayer and meditation go a long way. But just being mindful and taking a moment to take stock in where you are at mentally and making those adjustments where needed. Your peace is the top priority. And at the end of the day, we all need each other. So maintain those connections that make you feel safe and foster and restore the connections that ground you, including the one with yourself. My name is Dee, and this is Healing Out Loud. We'll be back next time.